Welcome to Uncorked and Unscripted, the podcast and video series that gives you VIP access to the unscripted stories of people I've met through events. In this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted, personal brand photographer Maddie Peschong joins us to discuss building your business's brand, work-life balance, and a very slippery rated R brand photo shoot that she will never forget. Now, uncork your favorite beverage and listen up as we spend the next half hour unscripted. Hello and welcome back to Uncorked and Unscripted. I am your host, Addie Graham Kramer. Today we have Maddie Peschong with us here. She is a brand photographer, actually probably the brand photographer talking to the event company. But we've had the opportunity to work with each other, for many, many, many years. I knew you in a previous life, which we might talk a little bit about today. But welcome to the show, Maddie.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. I'm so thrilled to be here.
This is a fun one for me personally because Maddie is really behind a lot of the, pretty much all of the branding of Uncorked and Unscripted. So Ariana, which many of you have met in the past, is our producer. Ari had this brainchild of what the look wanted to be, kind of the feel. We worked closely with Jess, our brand designer, to figure out what the branding looks like, palette colors, all those things. And then Maddie really brought it to life in studio. We had champagne spraying. We had people standing all over, like lacy booby tops. Like there was so much going on. But this is the woman behind it all.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so fun to work with teams like yours for many reasons, but it's really cool when a client comes into a project like yours with a very clear vision of what they want. And I just get to like execute and play. And it was fun. Such a fun day. Yeah.
And I think I don't know if my most favorite part there, but it was really the energy and the vibe because you had an intern there that day. We had Gianna, who was newer to our team. She'd been with us just a couple of weeks. You have Callie and Ari and myself, and there's just some really good energy in the space. And I feel like when you have such incredible team of whether it's male, females, we of course have a team full of females, you get this really cool energy and this vibe in there that it just makes you feel good. And
100%.
That's one of my favorite parts about it. But we're going to dive in today more about your photography business, kind of how you got to be where you are, no weddings, but really what it looks like for you now. But before we do that, we always start out the podcast by always asking each one of our guests, because this is the whole uncorked part of it, right? We're going to talk unscripted, but the uncorked pieces is if you could be a drink, any drink, what would it be? Like what would describe Maddie Peschong?
Ooh, I think the first thing that came into my mind, I think it's a glass of rosé. I think it's a good, like, crisp glass of rosé on a patio in the summer.
Good.
So, rosé a little bit funky, like it's not red or white, but it's not like too crazy.
Yeah, no, I get it. Do you like it frozen? Do you like the frosés or do you like straight?
I typically am just going to do like a good glass of rosé, but I do think the frosé, as they call it, is pretty fun.
So I'm hosting a picnic later on tonight, this like little luxury picnic for a couple girlfriends and I, and we're going to a spot where alcohol is not available, but I did buy a bottle of non-alcoholic rosé. So I will have to tell you how it is.
Because I'm kind of on a bit of an alcohol-free journey.
Good.
And wine has been tough to replace.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Why the change? Like why the NA side of things? Just to feel better?
Pretty much. I started paying more attention to my like hormones in the past couple of years and had some realizations that like, especially when I drank, because I love a good glass of wine and I would drink a glass of wine and within like an hour I had a headache and I wanted to fall asleep.
Yeah. Did you get blotchy?
I don't get super blotchy, no, good. But it definitely like I just kind of hit a wall and then the next day I feel terrible. And then I have been drinking a little bit lately, just like a glass or two of wine. And the thing that I've noticed after not drinking for a while is that my anxiety is just heightened for like 2 days afterward.
Yeah.
So I think that, I just need to drink a lot less than what I have in the past. And so I'm all about the NA right now. Like tell me all of your NA wines.
I don't know. I cannot remember what the brand is. It's actually just chilling in the fridge here at the office. So
love it.
I will have it tonight. I'll text you, let you know how it is. But
perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've got a couple of gals on our team also that do not drink alcohol, which they're testing with new elixirs and fun other mocktails. And that's the part that I love about it. I mean, for me anyway, being in my business, especially the event side of things, I think people think you just drink champagne and you party all day. That is not the case. I always explain it to people like, so people will offer us cocktails at events or a glass of beer or a wine or whatever. And I say, thank you so much for the offer. But I can't drink. I'm working. And they're like, oh, come on. It's just fine. I'm like, do you go to your dentist and your dentist is like drinking on the job? No, right. You don't. Do you go to the DMV and they're boozing it up? No, like it's just part of my job. We have a huge liability surrounding it. I remember in the beginning days of even the company, people would offer me drinks and I didn't have the guts to say no. I would take it and then I would carry it around like I was drinking it and then put it down. But that's a policy we have on our team. So I'll keep you posted on what the NA looks like. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. But so I want you to kind of tell everybody like how you got into this piece of it. Cause we met first, I'm going to think like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Was it prior or after that? You were at ClickRain. I remember meeting you at ClickRain.
Yep.
Talk to us about like your role there, how that inspired you into the photography side of things. Were you doing photography when you were there?
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, even a little bit further back than that, out of college, I got a job at Blue Bunny Ice Cream and I was doing all of the like social and digital marketing there, or I was on that team. And I really loved it. And when my husband and I decided that we wanted to move back to South Dakota and specifically come to Sioux Falls, I really had my eye on ClickRain. They've always had such a great reputation, really cool team. I was working in a very corporate environment. I was on a really fun team, but in general, it was very corporate, right? You're wearing slacks every day. And I was the youngest person in the office. And so whenever we would visit our agency, I was like, this is such a vibe. Like, I want to work at an agency. Yeah. So when we moved to Sioux Falls, I just had my sights set on ClickRain. And I also had a photography business. And I worked at ClickRain for about 3 years on the account team. So I got to meet so many great people and like had wonderful clients, great coworkers, and was kind of building this photography business in the background. And after about 3 years at ClickRain, I had just had my second baby, came back from maternity leave, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I'm not being a good employee. I'm not being a good business owner. I'm not being a good mom. Like, I'm just spread way too thin. And so in 2018 was when I quit and have been doing my own thing ever since.
That's so awesome. And you were back in the day though, you were doing like photography for weddings and for families and all the stuff, right? Like you weren't so super hyper focused on brand.
Not
were you
at all.
doing any brand at all then or no? Or
no,
a little bit?
It wasn't until after I left ClickRain that I started doing brand work. And now so much of what I do and speak about is like, there's so much opportunity in brand photography, but you will never catch me like talking smack about the wedding world because it allowed me to quit my job. It connected me with so many wonderful people. And at the end of the day, like I loved shooting weddings. It's just that I also knew that it wasn't sustainable for my business and for my family. So yeah, I was primarily doing weddings when I left ClickRain and was very aware that it wasn't going to be a forever thing. And I was also always very big on what we now know as personal branding, but at the time we didn't as much have a name for, but I was, sharing photos of myself and bringing some of my personality into my business. So other photographers asked me to do that for them. So I started with some, again, personal brand shoots, but that's not what we called them then, for some friends of mine. And then I eventually got connected with a pajama company out of LA, and I started doing brand photography for them for children's pajamas. And that was really what made me go, okay, there's something here. Like I can take my marketing background with photography and this could be a business together. And I was so excited.
So when you made that switch, I mean, were you nervous? Like, was there, when I say switch, I'm saying you've already quit corporate America, you're doing your own thing, but you were not in this sphere really fully yet. Like, was that nerve wracking to you? Did you have a plan ready? Like, what did that look like from your side? Because you're a mom, you're a wife, you are a community leader, you got all these things. You and I've sat on different committees together. I mean, there's all these different things happening. So, I mean, what did that feel like from your side to make the leap?
It was a really slow burn. I guess I've become a bit more impulsive as I have learned to trust myself, but in general, I'm not an impulsive person when it comes to especially things that like affect what I'm making, right? Like the money that I'm bringing home. So it was a really slow burn of me being like, okay, I really like working with these brand clients. I really like doing this type of photography, but weddings are going to continue to pay my bills while I kind of figure it out. I always took a really low volume of weddings. And so I would take, 10, 12 weddings a year, and that kind of covered my bills and paid me a little bit. And so with the rest of it, I could just play around. And that's what I did. It was truly such a slow burn. Like I remember the day that I took weddings off of my menu on my website, but it was still a background page. And then I remember the day that I just deleted the page.
Good for you. Good for you. I mean, we kind of started out like in the beginning days too. So we're going on 11 years here in October. And when we started, we were straight corporate, nonprofit, and social. But then there were a couple of weddings that were sprinkled into here and another couple there. And they were mostly corporate clients who I had a son that was getting married or another family member or whatever.
Right.
So we were doing a couple at that time. But for me, it was, yes, I think the juggling with a family, because at that time I had 2 little guys too. But it was also like, just wasn't my jam. And it's okay to say that. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't want to offend people. And I'm not, any weddings that come our way, we've got partners that we send them to now because I love, I'm all for it. But for me, it was not my jam. And it just didn't fuel me to want to push my creative side of things. But also, I looked at the longevity of some of the clients that we work with. Like some of ours, we've got 80 to 90% retention rate with some of our clients that we've worked with for all 11 years. And for me, it was, I wanted to see the growth of them. And maybe you can relate to it now in the brand photography side of things, because you've seen us grow and change over the years too. And it's like this cool piece of like being with either a nonprofit that's so small and maybe 2 employees and they're raising not much money. And then they're growing another 20,000 and another. Or from the corporate side, like they're launching a new building here or launching a new company here. And we've had that opportunity to be able to grow alongside these clients when we have as well. So that's the fun part that I love is the growth piece, but also I'm just invested in a different way. Would you say the same for you?
I totally agree. Yes, I deeply relate to that. I think at the end of the day, when you're selling brand photography, so much of what you're selling is confidence, the confidence to be able to show up for your business or on behalf of your business and to be able to see that transformation of someone who originally will come to me and be like, I am really uncomfortable in front of the camera. I don't know what to even like talk about when it comes to my business online, and to watch the transformation of like, oh my gosh, I look as legit as I am.
You are a badass. Like, you are a badass. Just do it.
Exactly. Like that is it's empowering for me every single time, and that's just something that I didn't get from the wedding world. And to be fair, there are people who get some flavor of that from weddings, right? Like my friends who are meant to be wedding photographers, like they get that fulfillment from that niche, but I just never did. Even though I enjoyed it, it wasn't my thing. And this is so my thing.
So for those that are listening that are not familiar with this term brand photography, you've had to kind of come into yourself with this word and for your business side, what all is entailed in brand photography for those that don't know?
Yeah. So I think brand photography and personal brand photography is something that we're hearing more about in recent years, but it's existed for a long time, right? Because whether you are a company that sells pajamas or you are like the CEO leading an organization, you need photography, you need visuals to support that. And that's what brand photography is. It's photos, at the end of the day, what I always tell my clients is my job is to help you make money. Like I want my photos to move the bottom line for you. And sometimes that's with product photography. Sometimes it's photos of the people, of like the talent behind the business. Sometimes it's headshots for a team. It could be a lot of different things. I work a lot with people like you, right? Who are leading organizations or different from you, like having a team of one, right? Like a solopreneur.
Where they're trying to build up all that they have.
100%. Yep. And so then they can use these images to talk about who they are and what they do do and how they help in their online marketing, on their website, and print materials, that sort of thing.
What I love about you is you work with a pretty cool team of people, though, to help make it all happen in a lot of different facets, like not only from the hair and the makeup side of things, but also I think of Carly from Hey Carl. Like she puts all of those pieces together from webs and website wise and other copywriting and all this stuff. Like she's got such a niche eye and creative eye for it. But what I love about you, though, Maddie, is you do have these connection points to different partners that can help elevate that solopreneur to get to that next level, right? So you've got this kind of army of people around you too.
Totally. And that was always one of my favorite parts of the wedding day, was like working with the event planner and the venue owner and the, whoever, right? Like the DJ. Like I loved the like connectivity that came from that. And now I get to do that on the business side. So it's very common for me to either refer business to or to get referrals from people like Carly or Melissa at Branch Creative.
Oh,
like
yeah, for
right?
Sure. She is incredible.
Killer designers that we have in our area. I'll work with content creators, which is kind of like a new thing that we're seeing more of. I am working on a project right now, or I have worked on a couple projects with 605 Videos, a videography team. So many cool connections. Yeah. And when we're able to really come together and help a small business, like that's when you see things really explode.
Yeah, it's the creative side. I think it's again, like when you were on set with you or behind the scenes, it's that energy that fuels it. And then when you pull partners into the mix, it's even more powerful. But
totally,
I think a lot of those individuals that I've seen that you surround yourself with, and I think we kind of run in some of the same circles, you and I, but what about like your social branding piece of it? Because you have captured your 13,000+ followers on your pages, but that continues to grow. I think you're sassy sometimes, which I can appreciate and I love, but you found this incredible voice that just is so attractive. And I don't mean like a sexual attractive one. Well, it might for some people, but sorry, Mads, you're not floating my boat today, friend. But again, here's the rated R stuff coming out.
I love it.
But it's an attractive piece because people, I think, want to be around you. And I think that's what you exude, this incredible energy. And I know I keep talking about that, but I think you found some of that through your voice, through social media. So how have you been so purposeful with that? Like, what has that looked like for you over these years? And does Jeff get annoyed? Because Jeff is her husband. Jeff makes an appearance every now and then in some social posts, but what's that look like for you?
Yes. No, he is so supportive. His support has definitely grown over the years. Like, I think, like so many small business owners, I think when I first came to him being like, I think I might want to quit my job and I think I might want to do this photography thing, he was like pretty quick to shoot it down, honestly. And his support has grown the more that I'm able to show him like, okay, watch me do this. And now he's great. But the thing that he does that makes me want to die is he will watch my Instagram stories while I'm sitting next to him on the couch, and I would rather be dead. So I hate that.
That is so funny. That is so funny.
But yeah, it's been a lot of experimentation. I think the thing that has really made me feel like my messaging has come a long way, honestly, recently, like in the last year or two, is getting really, really clear about who my ideal client is and like what they are struggling with and what they need to hear. And for me, it is not that it's easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work to like really get inside her head. But I was her. Like my ideal client who I'm speaking to was me 5 years ago, And so it is a little easier because I can kind of think back to like, well, what did Maddie 5 to 10 years ago need to hear? What was she struggling with? And the more that I can make my content and whatever it is that I'm talking about speak to her, like the better that it does.
So did you always have this coach kind of piece on the back burner? Like, did you, like when you branched out off on your own, more into the brand photography side of things, when you talk about her as a client, this is your clients, you're now in this coaching kind of world. Like, did you always want to be in that coach role? Okay.
No, actually I had joined a mastermind around the time that I quit my job and have had the same business coach since then. And she was the one who was kind of like, well, have you thought about teaching? And at the time it was like Instagram, because that's what I was doing. And, I was like, no, I'm not, that seems, I like that's above my pay grade. Like that's not really something that I'm interested in. But then I started to have a lot of people asking me about it. And again, it was really specific to Instagram. How do you use Instagram stories, and how do you create content, and how do you write, and all of that. So that's how it started. And it was at this like really pretty simple, like 2-day or 1-day, I think, Instagram focused retreat that I held in Sioux Falls, that I had people asking me like, would you ever host a mastermind, and would you ever do like a bigger coaching container?
So
And
cool.
yeah, it was really cool to hear that, because I don't know, I think it would have taken much longer for me to like throw my own hat in the ring, but because people were asking, I was like, well, maybe there's something here. And so I started coaching in like January, February of 2020, which was an interesting time to support business owners.
Yeah.
So kind of like baptism by fire. And for a couple of years, I focused just on working with creatives. And on paper, the program did really well. It made me a lot of money. But again, I started to get that feeling of just being spread way too thin again, because I had clients who were photographers, but also interior designers and website designers. And
it
I was
wasn't
just
solely
like,
in this photography
it was
realm.
not.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, gosh, I can't like go deep enough anywhere because
Sure.
I'm bouncing around so much.
Yeah.
And so it was about a year and a half ago that I started to think about making the pivot into talking specifically and working specifically with photographers who want to offer brand photography. And I fought that for a good year, because I was like, that is such a specific thing. Like I am blowing up this coaching business that's doing really well and making me money to talk to this like tiny subsect of people, but it was the best thing that I could have done, because I'm able now to go so much deeper.
That's what I was going to say. Don't you feel more fulfilled where you're making just a huge impact throughout your industry, and you're helping to move the needle? Like, I just got goosebumps for you.
Yeah,
like
thank you. That's a really cool thing to
piece?
say. It's amazing. Like it's so cool. And once in a, I have had a few people say similar things to me, and every time it just like kind of blows my mind that I could have an impact on an industry. But that is my hope, like I hope that photographers realize that there is so much potential outside of shooting weddings. And again, if they want to work with, if they want to do weddings, that's awesome.
Right.
But if they want their nights and weekends back, and if they have a heart for small business, like, oh my gosh, there's so much potential there.
Yeah. How are you staying up on all the trends then?
So I am
socials,
still,
truly.
yes. Yeah. So a couple of different things. I am still shooting, and I think that is really helpful. I don't know how sustainable it is, because as you know, when you start to have multiple things going on in your business, like it's a lot to juggle. But as of right now, it's been really helpful for me to like be actively trying to get, working on getting business while my clients are too. So that's certainly part of it. And also I definitely try to like work smarter, not harder, when it comes to specifically social trends. I actually subscribe to this, what is it called? The Social Club. A friend of mine that I met on Instagram, she does these like weekly reel prompts. And she sends them to my inbox, and then I create reels from that. So I'm not constantly like scrolling.
Fun.
There's so many cool like subscriptions and memberships like that are always, so helpful for small business owners.
For me, I kind of feel the same way. There's still a few clients that I lead up, and if I come out of this business completely, I feel like I would be lost truly. But I stay, I think, in it to understand what's happening, understand, yes, what trends are, but also it keeps me feeling relevant with the company and our industry. I
totally agree.
Because I also want to, like during COVID, for example, we had so many eyes on us, and our company grew 253% because we knew the virtual world of it, right? So we were speaking on huge platforms with big stages, capturing people like Coach K and MIT and all these different groups, because we were trying to better our industry. Really, that's it, similar to like what you were doing. And I think that passion piece, you take me out of the business, you take me out. I mean, I feel like I would just be so lost with that part of it. But I think I agree with you as well, where there are some things that you have to say no to, or figure out what the new path looks like. And I'm not one of those people how it's like point A to point B. I'm going to go A1, A2, A3, C1, it's just all these different iterations in our life. And I think that's what makes it special in the creative world. I really do.
I do too. And yeah, it just success starts to look different.
Yeah, it does. Correct.
And I think that that's actually a really cool thing. Something that I have been dealing with lately that's been so interesting, I will say, is that I am booking fewer photography clients. And in a lot of ways, I've priced myself out of a lot of projects that I used to get. And a lot of the people who I have coached, who I have educated, are now taking some of those jobs. And I have to really check my ego on that because it's so,
I know.
Because I'm like, no, I want to do it. But no, I don't. Like, I want to educate and I want to keep my foot just enough, doing some of that creative work. But my passion is to educate. And if my clients start taking my business, then I'm doing a good job,
Yeah. It is the checking of your ego big time. And I also feel like, oh, well, maybe if I just did do this back, did that away or did that again, it'll be fine. But it's not, right? Like you got to kind of stick on some of that path and it's fine. But it takes a while and some therapy to say like, it's okay.
So much therapy.
It's okay. It's okay. And it's, it's just fine.
Yeah.
It'll be good,
it just is a different definition of success. And it's a cool next chapter, I think.
Yeah. So with all that you're involved in and the day-to-day, what's your like typical day look like with kiddos and you are focused on your health and wellness, like business-wise? What's that look like for you?
Yeah. Ooh, my days, I'm sure you can relate to this. I feel like my days always look so different, but in general, our older two kids are in school. And so, we'll wake up in the morning and get them ready for school, get them on the bus, and then we'll walk our youngest to daycare. So usually by about 8:05, we're home. My husband works from home too. So we're home and ready to get to work. And sometimes I'll do a workout like right away in the morning. Either I see a trainer like once a week, but a lot of the time I'm just going out to my garage.
Yeah, which is great.
So it's great. It's so convenient. So sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I need to like wait and wake up a little bit first. And
you do work out in the afternoon sometimes, or you did in the summer. And I was always like, why? Like that.
I don't know why.
I have to get it done in the morning or other shit hits the fan or whatever else. Or frankly, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Oh, that's me. Is I don't want to do it. There were way too many times this summer where I was like, I'll just get one more thing done and then I'll go work out.
But then you're like at 2:00 in the afternoon, girl, and I'm like, look at her, she's doing it at 2.
I mean, it got done, but it wasn't a good time. Yeah. So, and then I usually, what I'm working on right now, so I have a group coaching program called Rebrand, and I am in the middle of a pretty big curriculum overhaul. I've had really cool success stories out of that program, but I want my clients to be able to feel confident charging more and doing it faster, right? Getting results faster. So I'm working on a pretty big curriculum overhaul that's taking up a decent amount of my time right now. So my day looks like coming to my computer and I've got my walking pad and I'll just kind of hammer stuff out. Yeah.
Good for you. Well, you've had a lot of successes over the years, and I'm very proud of that. One thing that I also want to hear is I want to know like your most funniest moment behind the scenes. Like I want to know like, did something catch fire? Did you trip and fall? Like I want to hear like a funny Maddie moment because you are quite funny whether you realize it or not, and I think it's just the realism of you, which is great, but I want to hear like your most funniest moment behind
this
the scenes.
Isn't necessarily a funny like behind the scenes or story, but my like probably biggest moment of like this is my actual job was when I booked a client that was they're a lube company, LUBE.
Yeah.
And so we were shooting like product photography for this lube company.
Not car lube.
Not car lube.
Great.
No, the kind of lube that you use in the bedroom.
Correct.
And it was such a cool project from a creative perspective because I was like, okay, we have to show this like sexual product in a way that doesn't get flagged by Google.
Oh, yeah.
And so how do we do that? And so we ended up using a lot of fruit.
Yeah. Good.
Yep. And then we had some models come in and we didn't really want to show, we wanted it to be about, we wanted
sensual,
to show like,
sensual.
Exactly. We didn't want to show like faces or anything, but we wanted to show like body parts but like not those body parts. So it was one of the funnest days that I have ever had behind the scene. And we were using the actual product. And so we were literally like slipping and sliding all over the studio floor. Like,
my
if you
gosh.
think, champagne being sprayed everywhere was an experience, wait for lube. Yeah.
Wow. I can tell you, that sounds like a bumper sticker. Wait for lube, period. I can tell you. That is not going to be the title. I can tell you a couple things. That's not going to be the title of this episode. But also, I can tell you I've never had an event that has been lubed up before. So that would be an interesting, wow, talk about memorable.
Yeah, so memorable. And it's very common with product photography that photographers will keep the product because they typically are like sending it to you, shipping it to you. And so I ended up with so much lube that I just like give out to friends now.
Oh my gosh.
I was talking with a friend of mine who's a pelvic floor therapist, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I hand out lube to my friends all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a photographer. It's different."
My gosh, I love it. I can tell you those also have not been in any swag bags at our event, not yet. So we'll see.
Not yet.
Give it time. Yeah. We'll see what upcoming events look like. But what's your one big piece of advice focused mostly on female entrepreneurs? Not necessarily brand photographers or in that industry, but true women that are out there hustling and trying to figure it out. What's just one piece of advice that you would give them?
Yeah. Something that I hope that I communicate to my clients and really just anybody that I have the pleasure of working with is that it's safe to take up space in your business. It's not that it's not vulnerable and it's not that it's not scary. It is those things, but it's also safe. And I think when I started really taking up space in my business and like bringing myself into my business in ways that I was comfortable, like, I still absolutely have a private life. But when I started bringing myself in, it was when I started connecting in a deeper way and making better connections. And we talked about connections on this episode, but like that is a huge part. Relationships are a huge part of my business. And if I was still hiding behind my logo or hiding behind a camera, it wouldn't be that way. And relationships have not only it's all about connection, right? So not only has connection made me, I think, a better person, but it's made me a better business owner and it's improved my business.
I think that is an incredible piece of advice. I personally wish I would have taken that so many years ago, because even now when Ariana pushes me out and says like, you should do this, or what about this, or try this. And sometimes I'm like, oh no, I don't think so. And what's it going to look like on the company? And I don't know. But I find that the more risks that we take, but the more that I am in the business and working on the business with me in the business, we see the success. And I'm trying that with a lot of our team members as well to make them a part of it and finding their brand, because I'm not going to be here forever. And I don't know what the future will look like either. I may retire here when I'm 90. I have no idea. But I want them to also have their own brand identity within the company too. And that's one thing that I think we're doing a good job of trying to push them out as well, so they can also own a piece of that business. But that's a good piece.
That.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Good piece. But what, one thing before we wrap up, what big things you've got coming up here personally? You've got your relaunch of everything with the curriculum. What's one big personal thing that you've got coming up here soon? Anything?
Ooh.
Are you and Jeff going on any trips anytime soon?
This is a bit away, but okay, let me back up. Last Christmas, we were supposed to go to the Black Hills with my family.
I remember seeing all that. Yep.
So sad. And we didn't make it. Yep. And at the time we were like, you know what, if we can't get out to the hills this year, we're going to take our budget from this year. We're going to take our budget from next year and we're going to do something really cool. So we are taking my kids on their first plane ride in February. We're taking everybody to Florida.
And they're going to love it.
Oh my God. We probably shouldn't have told them about it so soon because they can't stop talking about it, but it's going to be so fun.
Whole family though, like grandma, grandpa, like everybody's going, everybody.
Sister, grandma and grandpa, my sister, her boyfriend. Yeah. We are so excited. So
good
excited.
Good for you. Where, I have these fun questions. I'm going to ask you this, but where can people find more about you and all that you're doing?
MaddiePeschong.com is my website, and
Perfect.
I am at Maddie Peschong on Instagram, and I am there far too often.
Far too often, but it's far too entertaining as well.
It's so fun.
It's awesome. But okay, so before we end, Ari's got these questions here, and you've seen on past episodes, I have no idea what these questions are. I randomly will pick from them, and it's your time to answer.
Okay.
So you're an open book. This is the unscripted part. So I'm going to pull one from... Oh, interesting. I don't know what my answer would be, but if you could live in a movie, what movie would it be and why? If you could live in a movie. Live.
Okay.
That's a good question, Ari.
That is a really good question. Wow. The first thing that came to mind was the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, because I really, I've always wanted to go to Greece.
Yeah. And
plus that's a great movie.
Yeah. That would be a good one. Gosh, I don't even know what mine would be, to be very honest. I have no clue. I don't know. Barbie movie, maybe?
That's a good answer.
A fun, vibrant movie.
Barbie movie before the Kens take over.
Yeah, exactly. Could be interesting. But thank you for joining us on the podcast, Maddie. Always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll have some new projects coming up here soon. No idea what, but whatever Ari says, we'll be there. But for those that are watching, be sure to tune in every other Thursday. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Until then, we'll chat with you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted. Make sure to follow and rate this podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Stay connected with us by following us on social media at Uncorked Unscripted on Instagram and Facebook, and at Uncork Unscript on Twitter and TikTok. And if you really enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor and send it to a friend. See you soon. Bye.